What if one simple question changed the way you responded to other people? Especially in those moments where you feel hurt or triggered or ready to react. Most of us react very quickly. Sometimes somebody will say something, we immediately interpret what it means, then we make an assumption about what they meant, and we feel something, and then we respond, usually through reaction. And later we wish we would have handled that very differently. If we haven't met before, I am Elaine Louise Stewart, and I help women who are 50 and above who have lost their way in their life a little bit and are looking to find their way back. So there's a question I've come back to again and again, and it's from Dr. Becky Kennedy's book. And the question is, what is my most generous interpretation of what just happened? And when we ask ourselves that question, we have an opportunity to kind of step back a little bit and say, now, wait a minute, what really happened here? Instead of just deciding that somebody was rude or dismissive or hurtful, you pause. And then you consider what else might be true. Maybe they were distracted. Maybe they were overwhelmed. Maybe it wasn't about you at all. I remember a story I heard long ago about a man who had a couple of kids, and they were on a train, and the man was just staring out the window, and the kids were running wild all over the train. And all of the people on the train were really getting angry at him and wanting him to control his children. And he turned to them and he said, "I'm so sorry. My wife is in the hospital and she's dying, and I don't know what to do, and I don't know how to help my kids right now." So suddenly, their perspective, their assumptions, their meaning, all of those things went away. And that's kind of what happens when we get out of our own assuming and making meaning and making it about us. So we have to consider what else might be true. And here's the really powerful thing. When we look at that question and we say, what is the most generous interpretation that I can make about what just happened inside me? So now you're talking about where your real power is, where your real connection is. Because oftentimes we get angry at someone else, but it's almost like we're projecting onto them what we're really feeling inside. So when you react in a way that you don't like, instead of judging yourself and beating yourself up over it, take a pause and step back a minute and say, what is happening here? And in that pause, that can stop a reaction pretty quickly, actually. It's like, what is this about? So instead of judging yourself, instead of shaming yourself, you can pause and ask, how can I interpret this differently for myself? Maybe you were tired, and maybe you touched on something much deeper, something way back in your past, maybe your childhood, that like you hadn't put it together, and then boom, it triggered you. And maybe you felt hurt, and instead of turning against yourself, you begin to understand yourself. And that's where things really start to change. So here are 3 takeaways for you. 1, your reactions aren't random. There's something underneath that makes sense once you begin to see it. Number 2, you don't have to judge yourself for how you respond. You can begin to understand yourself instead. So that's a really interesting concept, right? Instead of being angry, really stepping back and going, well, what is underneath this? And learning to unravel some of those layers that we often cover ourselves with. And the last thing is, even a small pause can change everything, right? It's because it's like you're running on autopilot and your mind is going really fast, and all of these reactions are happening right away. You interpret, you assume, you get angry, you react, boom. But taking that pause can change everything. So if this spoke to you, I'd love to have you subscribe and get more videos like this one. You've done brave things before. This is just the next step. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you next time.